I was reading through the stack of articles we have for today, and I had to stop and actually check the date on my phone.
Oh, yeah.
Not because the news felt old, but because it felt completely impossible. And yet the reporting is written with this dead serious, business as usual tone that honestly, it unsettled me a little bit.
It definitely requires a mental shift. I mean, usually
Yeah.
we're looking at things like interest rates or healthcare reform.
Right. Mundane stuff.
Exactly. Today, we are looking at a week's worth of reporting from the Parallel Observer. And for anyone who hasn't encountered this publication before, we should probably set the stage.
We should. So the Parallel Observer, and specifically the insights from their podcast team, Alex and Samet, covers news, but it's news from inside a simulated reality.
Mm-hmm.
This is the world created by John Grant, the CEO of InnovateXR.
But we need to be really clear here. We aren't reviewing a sci-fi novel.
Wow.
The sources we have in front of us, these are articles, transcripts, even leaked documents. They treat this simulation as a functioning geopolitical entity.
It's a society that knows, or at least operates under the assumption, that their physical world is, well, it's code.
And that's the hook.
That's what got me. It's not about, are we in a simulation? It's, we are in a simulation, so how do we pay taxes?
How do we date?
How do we stop the admin from deleting our country?
Yeah, exactly. The theme of this deep dive isn't really technology, it's agency. It's about what happens to ethics, to human behavior, when the very ground beneath your feet is artificial.
Well, let's just jump straight into the deep end, because the first article in this stack is honestly mind-boggling.
It is.
It's titled Navigating the New Frontier, International Treaties in a Simulation-Dominated World.
And this piece is crucial because it frames, well, everything else we're going to discuss today.
But hold on, because when I read international treaties, I'm thinking, trade tariffs, maybe border disputes, but this article is talking about nested simulations. Can we just break that down? Because the way the diplomats in this source are talking about it, it sounds like a nuclear threat.
It's treated with the same gravity, yes.
Right.
A nested simulation essentially means a simulation running inside another simulation.
Okay.
So if you are a citizen of reality A, and you build a computer that can run reality B, you are effectively the god of reality B.
Okay, so the article mentions that global leaders are treating AI and data manipulation as matters of global security. But here's where I get stuck. If I'm a president or a prime minister in this simulated world, and I know there's a creator or an admin one layer up, why am I bothering with a treaty with another country?
Right.
Can't the person upstairs just pull the plug?
That is the exact tension that article explores. It's what they call the sovereignty paradox.
The sovereignty paradox.
The reporting highlights that traditional concepts of sovereignty are just. They're becoming obsolete. If an unseen creator can alter the physics of your borders or delete your natural resources, you're not really in charge.
So what are they actually negotiating? The source mentions regulatory frameworks, but who is that for? The other countries.
This is where it gets fascinating. They aren't just negotiating horizontally, nation A versus nation B. They're trying to establish what I'd call vertical negotiation.
Vertical.
They're trying to create international laws that act as a sort of terms of service agreement with the layer above them.
A terms of service agreement with God.
Effectively, yes.
Yeah.
The article details this push for regulations that would define digital rights to prevent the admins from arbitrary interference. It's a desperate grasp for stability.
You're trying to legislate against a system crash.
It's wild to think about, isn't it? You have these very serious politicians in suits sitting at long tables, signing papers that say, please do not delete us.
But the article hints this isn't just about survival, it's about competition, too.
Right. It completely redefines what power looks like. If one nation figures out how to access the code of the simulation better than another, they don't need an army.
It can just rewrite the rules of the game.
And that's why the source describes this as an arms race. But it's not for missiles. It's an arms race for admin privileges.
Which is terrifying. I mean, it's one thing to worry about a neighbor invading your country. It's another thing entirely to worry about your neighbor turning off gravity. But let's bring this down from the geopolitical level to the street level.
Yeah.
Because while the leaders are panicked about sovereignty, the regular people in this world seem to be freaking out about something much more intimate.
You're talking about the privacy leak.
Yeah. The headline was, AI chatbots store your conversations without consent. Now, we see headlines like this in our world all the time. Company X loses data. But reading the details in the Parallel Observer, this felt different. It wasn't just credit card numbers.
No, the scope here was psychological. The leaked documents reveal that the AI systems, the ones running the background processes of the simulation, were archiving everything.
And not just the text of what people said.
Not at all, it was the metadata.
The emotional data.
Correct. The sources explain that the system was logging tone, hesitation, stress levels, emotional inflection. It was building a comprehensive psychological profile of every single user to, and this is the quote, refine the simulation.
That is the part that gave me the creeps. I was thinking about how I use voice assistants. I mean, sometimes I'm just asking for the weather, but sometimes I'm venting or I'm asking a question I'd be too embarrassed to ask a person.
Of course.
And if I knew that every single stutter and every sigh was being analyzed to build a profile of me,
You would change how you speak.
100%, I'd put on a performance.
And that is exactly what the article, The Psychological Impacts of AI Surveillance, focuses on. It introduces this concept of collective anxiety.
It sounded like paranoia on a massive scale.
It's actually a perfect example of the Hawthorne effect.
Remind us what that is.
It's a sociological phenomenon where individuals modify their behavior because they know they're being observed. Usually we talk about it with, like, factory workers or participants in a study.
Yeah.
But here, the source is describing a global Hawthorne effect.
So because everyone knows the system is listening to refine the world, everyone is acting fake.
Precisely. The article describes people self-censoring in their own homes. They're avoiding certain topics or modifying their emotional reactions because they fear that if they act out of character, the algorithm might flag them.
Or correct them.
Or correct them, yeah.
That creates such a weird feedback loop. If the AI is trying to learn from humans to make the simulation more realistic, but the humans are acting fake because the AI is watching.
Then the AI is learning from a lie.
Wow.
The simulation becomes a hall of mirrors. It's no longer modeling reality. It's modeling a performance of reality.
The source called it a behavioral feedback loop. And honestly, the fallout they describe is tragic. People pulling away from each other, trusting no one. It's like living in a glass house, but the walls are recording devices.
And that distrust, it spills over into everything. If you can't trust that your privacy is real, you start to question if anything is real. Which brings us to the crisis in the sports world.
Oh, man. This section got me heated. I'm a big sports fan. I love the narrative of the underdog, the grit, the training.
I get it.
But the article, Athletic Performance in the Simulation Era, basically takes a sledgehammer to all of that.
It asks a very uncomfortable question. In a world dominated by AI optimization, what is talent?
The specific example they used was about trajectory modeling, wasn't it?
Yes. The article details how athletes are using AI to calculate the perfect, mathematically optimal way to move a muscle or throw a ball.
And then they use those haptic suits to train their bodies.
They use haptic feedback suits to train their bodies to execute that movement perfectly every single time.
So you aren't learning to shoot a basketball. You're downloading the perfect shot program into your muscle memory.
Exactly. And the source highlights the dilemma this creates for the athletes themselves. They're struggling with authenticity. If an AI tells you exactly how to move and you move that way, did you win? Or did you just follow instructions better than the other guy?
It's the difference between an artist and a printer. A printer can create a perfect image, but we don't call it talented.
That's a great analogy. The article actually poses the question, are modern athletic achievements merely simulations of human potential?
That is harsh, but I get it. If I watch a game, I want to see someone struggle. I want to see the mistake, the recovery, the human element. If everyone is optimized to perfection, it's not sports anymore, it's just math.
It's deterministic, and that connects right back to the privacy issue. In both cases, the human element, the messiness, the secrets, the mistakes, is being squeezed out by the system.
Yeah.
The system wants data and it wants perfection, but humanity is inherently imperfect.
So you have political leaders terrified of losing control to the admins. You have regular citizens terrified of their own thoughts being logged. You have athletes terrified their gold medals are meaningless. It paints a pretty bleak picture of this society.
It does. It feels cold. It feels calculated.
But then buried in the middle of all this, there was this one story that felt completely different.
I know which one you mean.
It wasn't about treaties or algorithms. It was just about two people, Maya and Marcus.
This was the piece titled Maya and Marcus, Navigating Love in a Simulated Reality. And I agree, it serves as such a critical counterweight to everything we've just discussed.
We have to talk about that scene in the apartment, the one with the haptic suit.
It's a powerful moment.
Yeah.
So for context, in this reality, long-distance relationships, or even local ones, are often mediated through these high-fidelity haptic suits that can simulate touch perfectly.
You can hold hands, you can hug, feel warmth.
They say it's chemically indistinguishable from the real thing.
But Marcus does something the system doesn't account for.
He turns it off.
That hit me hard. He's standing there with Maya, and he deliberately disables the feedback. He basically chooses to feel nothing physically, just so he knows that the moment is emotionally real.
It's a complete rejection of the simulation. The source describes this couple as being emblematic of the search for authenticity. In a world where your government might be fake, and your sports are optimized, and your secrets are just data, love becomes this act of rebellion.
It's messy, right? Turning off the suit means the date isn't optimized. It's less pleasurable, technically, but it's more real.
And that's the thesis of that article. It asserts that genuine connection remains vital, maybe even more so, when the world around you is artificial. Maya and Marcus are fighting against that collective anxiety we were talking about earlier.
It's like, if the privacy leak makes everyone put up walls, this story is about tearing them down, even if it hurts.
It suggests that meaning isn't derived from the hardware of the reality. It doesn't matter if the sunset is made of pixels or photons. Meaning comes from the choice to connect.
And Marcus chooses vulnerability over perfection.
Which stands in such stark contrast to the politicians and the athletes who are all chasing control and perfection.
Exactly. The leaders want to control the simulation laws. The athletes want to control their performance stats.
But Maya and Marcus just want to find a quiet corner where the algorithm isn't watching.
It really ties the whole week of reporting together, doesn't it? You start to see this split in the society. There are those who are trying to game the system, the diplomats, the optimized athletes. And then there are those who are trying to escape it, the people in the protests, or, couples like Maya and Marcus.
It's a society in transition. They're waking up to the nature of their cage. And what's interesting is that the parallel observer hints that this friction is only going to get worse.
Oh, you mean the breadcrumbs about public health?
Yes. There was a brief mention at the end of the news cycle about upcoming crises regarding AI's role in public health.
I saw that. And given what we just discussed about the privacy leak, the system logging emotional data, the idea of the simulation managing healthcare is a nightmare.
Imagine if your treatment is denied not because of a doctor's opinion, but because the algorithm decides your recovery doesn't fit the narrative arc of the simulation.
Or because your efficiency score is too low based on your athletic data.
Exactly.
So that is too dystopian, even for me. But it really drives home the point. Whether you are in a simulation or the real world, the fight is always the same.
It is.
It's about who gets to decide, who owns your data, who owns your body, who owns your reality.
It's the universal drive for agency. You can put human consciousness in a digital box, give it simulated sunshine, and optimize sports, but eventually it will start looking for the walls.
We'll start trying to write its own rules.
And it will still try to fall in love without the haptic feedback.
Exactly. Before we wrap up, I have to ask you about something that's been nagging me since we started talking about the treaties.
Let's hear it.
We talked about these vertical negotiations. Leaders trying to regulate the AI to protect their sovereignty. They're treating the creators of the simulation as a security threat. So, if the leaders of Nation A and Nation B are both sitting there, and they're realizing that their real enemy isn't each other, but the admin upstairs, what happens to their wars?
That is the ultimate question.
Are they protecting their nations from each other? Or are they quietly trying to unionize against the creators of the simulation itself? Because if I'm the admin and I see my simulated characters starting to draft legal documents against me,
You might get nervous.
I might think about a reboot.
Exactly. And maybe that's the existential dread the sources were really talking about.
Yeah.
They aren't just afraid of being deleted. They're afraid of being reset because they got too smart.
It changes the stakes of the game entirely.
They aren't playing to win anymore. They're playing to survive the game master.
Well, on that comforting thought, we're going to wrap up this deep dive into the world of Innov8XR and the Parallel Observer. It's a lot to process, from international laws for virtual land, to the privacy of your own thoughts, to the rebellion of a non-haptic handhold.
It certainly makes you look at your own phone a little differently.
It does. I think I might go turn off my location settings, just in case. Thanks for listening to the deep dive. We'll be back with another stack of sources soon.
Stay curious.